Picture this, a seasoned royal guard, trained to protect the most powerful family in Britain, standing firm in the face of an unexpected demand that would test every protocol he'd ever learned. What happens when centuries-old traditions clash with modern royal expectations? When Queen Camilla stepped forward that crisp autumn morning, neither she nor the guard could have predicted the chain of events that would unfold, events that would be whispered about in palace corridors for months to come. This isn't just another royal scandal or tabloid headline. It's a real story about pride, protocol, and the delicate balance of power within the walls of one of the world's oldest monarchies. A story that reveals how even the most carefully orchestrated royal routines can unravel in a single, unexpected moment. What you're about to read happened behind closed doors, away from the cameras and the carefully managed public appearances. It's the kind of incident that reminds us that beneath all the ceremony and tradition, the royal family are still human beings navigating complex relationships and ancient rules that don't always make sense in today's world. The morning of October 15th began like any other Tuesday at Clarence House. The autumn leaves had just started their transformation from green to gold, creating a picturesque backdrop for what was supposed to be a routine day in the life of the royal household. Queen Camilla had risen early, as was her custom, and, after her morning tea and newspaper review, she prepared for what appeared to be a standard schedule of meetings and correspondence. Sergeant Major James Whitfield had been assigned to the Queen's protection detail for 3 years. At 42, he was considered one of the finest royal guards in service, with an impeccable record that included deployments in Afghanistan and specialized training in close protection. His colleagues respected him not just for his military bearing and attention to detail, but for his ability to remain calm under pressure. Whitfield had served under 3 different monarchs during his career and understood the intricate web of protocols that governed every interaction within royal circles. The morning had proceeded without incident until approximately 10:30, when Queen Camilla emerged from her private study to walk through the gardens. This was part of her regular routine, a moment of peace before the day's official duties began. Whitfield, positioned at his standard post near the garden entrance, nodded respectfully as she approached. He had performed this same duty hundreds of times before, maintaining the delicate balance between visibility and discretion that royal protection required. As Queen Camilla paused to admire a particular rose bush that had caught her attention, she noticed a group of visiting dignitaries from the Commonwealth approaching from the opposite direction. These were officials from Australia and New Zealand who had come for discussions about upcoming royal tours. The timing of their appearance created what would later be described as a perfect storm of circumstances that nobody could have anticipated. Queen Camilla, conscious of maintaining royal dignity in front of the visiting officials, turned towards Sergeant Major Whitfield with an expectation that had never before been explicitly discussed between them. In her mind, the presence of international representatives called for a more formal display of the respect and deference traditionally shown to members of the royal family. What seemed natural and appropriate to her, however, represented uncharted territory for the experienced guard. "Sergeant Major," Queen Camilla said, her voice carrying the quiet authority that came with her position, "I believe a proper salute would be appropriate given our distinguished guests." The request hung in the air between them like morning mist. Whitfield felt the weight of the moment immediately. His training had covered countless scenarios, from security threats to diplomatic emergencies, but this particular situation fell into a gray area that his years of experience had never quite prepared him for. The protocols were clear about when guards were required to salute working members of the royal family, and those protocols had specific triggers related to ceremonial occasions and formal state functions. Whitfield's mind raced through the regulations he knew by heart. Royal guards saluted the monarch and working royals during official ceremonies, state occasions, and specific formal interactions. But the current situation, a casual morning walk in the private gardens of Clarence House, didn't fit any of the established parameters for mandatory salutes. More importantly, Queen Camilla, while holding her title and position through marriage to the king, occupied a unique place in the royal hierarchy that made her request particularly complex from a protocol standpoint. The visiting officials had noticed the interaction and slowed their approach, clearly interested in witnessing how royal protocol played out in real time. Their presence added an additional layer of pressure to an already delicate situation. Whitfield understood that his response would not only affect his relationship with Queen Camilla but could potentially impact Britain's diplomatic relationships with important Commonwealth partners. Years of military service had taught Whitfield the importance of clear chains of command and established procedures. He had earned his position through strict adherence to regulations and had never found himself in a situation where personal judgment might conflict with direct requests from those he served. The weight of tradition, protocol, and personal respect created a complex web of considerations that demanded careful navigation. Queen Camilla waited, her expression maintaining the composed dignity expected of her position while internally beginning to feel the first stirrings of what would later become significant embarrassment. She had made the request in good faith, believing it represented appropriate royal protocol. The pause that followed her words, however, began to stretch uncomfortably as Whitfield weighed his options. The garden setting, normally a place of tranquility and routine, had transformed into a stage for a drama that neither participant had scripted. Other staff members, going about their regular duties, began to notice the unusual stillness of the scene. The head gardener, trimming hedges nearby, glanced up from his work. A junior aide, crossing the pathway with documents for the Queen's review, slowed her pace as she sensed the tension. Whitfield's military bearing remained perfect, his posture straight and professional, but, behind his composed exterior, he was rapidly calculating the implications of each possible response. A salute might establish a precedent that could complicate future interactions and, potentially, conflict with established protocols. Refusing the request, however, could be interpreted as disrespectful and might create diplomatic embarrassment in front of the Commonwealth officials. The Commonwealth representatives, led by Sir Geoffrey Morrison from Australia and Dame Patricia Williams from New Zealand, found themselves inadvertent witnesses to a moment that would test the very foundations of royal protocol. Both were experienced diplomats who understood the significance of ceremonial gestures in maintaining the respect and dignity of constitutional monarchy. They watched with keen interest, knowing that they would likely be asked to report on their observations during their upcoming meetings with other officials. As the seconds ticked by, Queen Camilla began to realize that her request might not receive the immediate compliance she had expected. Her understanding of royal protocol, while extensive in many areas, had some gaps when it came to the specific military regulations that governed her protection detail. She had assumed that her position automatically entitled her to the same ceremonial recognition accorded to other working royals, not realizing that the protocols were more nuanced than they appeared. The morning sun continued its steady climb, casting longer shadows across the manicured gardens. The sound of London traffic in the distance provided a gentle reminder that beyond the walls of Clarence House, the world continued its normal rhythm, unaware of the protocol drama unfolding in one of Britain's most prestigious royal residences. This moment of indecision would prove to be the catalyst for events that would ripple through the royal household for weeks to come. Whitfield's colleagues, monitoring the situation through security protocols, began to take notice of the unusual length of the interaction. In their earpieces, they could hear the subtle shift in communication patterns that indicated something unexpected was occurring. Standard security procedures called for regular check-ins during routine protection duties, and the extended pause in normal activities triggered quiet alerts throughout the protection network. The Queen's private secretary, Mrs. Margaret Thornberry, happened to be observing from an upstairs window as she reviewed the day's schedule. Her years of service had given her an intuitive sense for when royal interactions were proceeding smoothly versus when complications were arising. The body language she observed in the garden below suggested that careful intervention might soon be necessary to prevent a minor incident from escalating into something more significant. Meanwhile, in the kitchen of Clarence House, the domestic staff continued their preparations for the Queen's upcoming engagements. The chef was putting finishing touches on canapés for an afternoon reception, while housekeeping staff ensured that every detail of the residence remained perfectly maintained. None of them were aware that a seemingly simple interaction in the garden would soon become a topic of intense discussion throughout the royal household. The moment stretched on, each second adding weight to what had begun as a straightforward request. Queen Camilla's confidence in the appropriateness of her demand began to waver as she recognized the complexity that Whitfield's hesitation revealed. Her experience with royal protocol, while extensive, had not prepared her for situations where her expectations might not align with established military regulations. This morning encounter would prove to be far more than a simple misunderstanding between a royal and her protection officer. It would expose the intricate challenges of navigating centuries-old traditions in a modern monarchy where roles and expectations continue to evolve. The consequences of this moment would soon ripple outward, affecting not just Queen Camilla and Sergeant Major Whitfield, but the entire structure of royal protocol and the delicate relationships that maintain the dignity and effectiveness of the British monarchy. As the tension in the garden reached its peak, neither Queen Camilla nor Sergeant Major Whitfield could have predicted how this single moment would transform their understanding of royal protocol and set in motion a chain of events that would be remembered long after the autumn leaves had fallen and been cleared away. Sergeant Major Whitfield's decision came after what felt like an eternity but was actually only 15 seconds of careful consideration. Drawing upon his extensive military training and deep respect for established protocol, he chose to maintain his position without offering the requested salute. His voice, when he finally spoke, carried the measured tone of a professional who understood the weight of his words. "Your Majesty," Whitfield said with utmost respect, "I maintain my position according to current guard protocols for non-ceremonial interactions." His words were chosen carefully, designed to show respect while firmly establishing his adherence to established regulations. The military precision of his response reflected years of training in situations where clear communication could mean the difference between success and failure. The effect of his response on Queen Camilla was immediate and visible. A flush of embarrassment began to color her cheeks as she realized that her assumption about protocol had been incorrect. The presence of the Commonwealth officials made the moment exponentially more awkward, transforming what might have been a private misunderstanding into a potential diplomatic incident with witnesses from two of Britain's most important international partners. Sir Geoffrey Morrison and Dame Patricia Williams exchanged barely perceptible glances, their diplomatic training allowing them to maintain neutral expressions while internally processing the significance of what they had witnessed. Both understood that this moment would likely be discussed in their confidential reports and might influence future protocols during royal visits to their respective countries. Queen Camilla's immediate instinct was to salvage the situation with grace, but the damage to her confidence had already been done. She had made what she considered a reasonable request based on her understanding of royal hierarchy, only to discover that the protocols governing military personnel were more complex and rigid than she had realized. The embarrassment was compounded by the realization that she had essentially been corrected in front of international representatives. "Of course," Queen Camilla managed to say, her voice maintaining its composure despite the internal turmoil she was experiencing. "Please carry on with your duties, Sergeant Major." Her words were courteous, but those present could detect the underlying tension that had not existed moments before. The easy familiarity that had previously characterized her interactions with her protection detail had been replaced by a more formal distance. Whitfield acknowledged her response with a respectful nod, but he too was aware that something fundamental had shifted in their professional relationship. His adherence to protocol had been correct, but the cost of that correctness was beginning to become apparent. The comfortable working dynamic that had developed over 3 years of service was now strained by this public disagreement over ceremonial expectations. The Commonwealth officials, sensing the delicate nature of the moment, approached with heightened sensitivity to the diplomatic implications of what they had witnessed. Sir Geoffrey, with his decades of experience in managing sensitive international relationships, chose to address Queen Camilla with extra deference, hoping to restore some of the dignity that the awkward exchange had temporarily undermined. "Your Majesty," Sir Geoffrey said with a deep, formal bow that went beyond normal diplomatic courtesy, "it is our great honor to be received at Clarence House today. The gardens are absolutely magnificent." His words were chosen to redirect attention away from the protocol incident and back to the scheduled diplomatic discussions. Dame Patricia followed Sir Geoffrey's lead, offering her own elaborate courtesy while inwardly noting every detail of the interaction for her upcoming reports to the New Zealand government. Her diplomatic cables would need to carefully navigate the description of this incident, balancing accuracy with the need to maintain positive relationships between New Zealand and the British royal family. Queen Camilla graciously accepted their greetings, but the earlier confidence in her bearing had been noticeably shaken. Her smile, while maintaining its warmth, carried a new edge of uncertainty that hadn't been present at the beginning of their encounter. The easy authority she typically displayed in such situations had been complicated by the realization that her understanding of protocol contained significant gaps. As the group moved toward the scheduled meeting location, Whitfield resumed his standard protective positioning, but the dynamic had fundamentally changed. His movements remained professionally precise, but there was now an undercurrent of tension that hadn't existed before. Other members of the security team, monitoring through their communication networks, began to sense that something significant had occurred, though the specifics remained unclear. Mrs. Margaret Thornberry, Queen Camilla's private secretary, had observed enough of the interaction from her window to understand that intervention might be necessary. Her years of experience in managing royal protocols and smoothing over delicate situations told her that this incident would require careful handling to prevent it from escalating further or becoming a source of ongoing tension within the household. The morning meeting with the Commonwealth representatives proceeded according to schedule, but the earlier garden incident cast a subtle shadow over the proceedings. Queen Camilla's usual confident engagement with international visitors was slightly more measured, as she found herself second-guessing protocol decisions that she would normally make instinctively. The discussions covered upcoming royal tours, Commonwealth relations, and various ceremonial arrangements that would require careful coordination between British royal protocols and the specific requirements of each visiting nation. Ironically, many of the topics addressed during the meeting related directly to the kinds of ceremonial protocols that had caused the morning's embarrassment. Sir Geoffrey and Dame Patricia maintained their professional focus on the scheduled agenda, but both were acutely aware of the undercurrent of tension that the garden incident had created. Their diplomatic training allowed them to navigate the formal discussions while mentally cataloging the implications of what they had witnessed for future royal visits and ceremonial planning. During a brief recess in the meetings, Mrs. Thornberry took the opportunity to speak quietly with Queen Camilla about the morning's events. Her approach was delicate, designed to provide guidance without appearing to criticize or undermine the Queen's authority. The conversation would prove crucial in determining how the household would address the protocol confusion that had been revealed. "Your Majesty," Mrs. Thornberry said in the low, confidential tone that characterized sensitive royal household discussions, "perhaps we might review the specific protocols governing security detail interactions to ensure clarity for all future engagements." Her suggestion was diplomatically phrased to avoid any implication of error while acknowledging that clarification was needed. Queen Camilla's response revealed the depth of her embarrassment about the morning's events. "Indeed, Margaret. I clearly misunderstood certain aspects of the arrangements." Her admission required considerable grace, as it acknowledged that her assumption about her ceremonial authority had been incorrect. The humility shown in that private moment demonstrated the personal growth that often accompanied the more challenging aspects of royal life. Meanwhile, Sergeant Major Whitfield was experiencing his own complex emotions about the morning's events. His adherence to protocol had been technically correct, but he was well aware that his refusal to comply with Queen Camilla's request had created tension that would likely persist. His colleagues in the security detail were beginning to discuss the incident in the careful, measured tones they used when addressing sensitive matters involving the royal family. The afternoon's scheduled activities proceeded with careful attention to protocol details that might normally have been handled more casually. Every interaction between Queen Camilla and her staff carried a new weight of consideration, as both sides worked to navigate the changed dynamic that had emerged from the morning's misunderstanding. The Commonwealth officials concluded their visit with all appropriate ceremonies, but their private discussions afterward would certainly include analysis of the protocol incident they had witnessed. Their reports to their respective governments would need to balance diplomatic courtesy with accurate reporting of events that might influence future royal visit planning. As evening approached, the royal household began the complex process of analyzing and addressing the implications of the morning's events. Protocol officers would need to review existing guidelines, clarify ambiguous situations, and ensure that similar misunderstandings could be prevented in the future. The incident had revealed gaps in the system that required immediate attention. Queen Camilla's evening routine included time for reflection on the day's events, and the morning's embarrassment weighed heavily on her mind. The incident had not only been personally uncomfortable but had also raised questions about her understanding of the complex protocols that governed royal life. The learning curve of royal responsibilities continued to present unexpected challenges even after years of experience. The day that had begun with routine expectations had transformed into a significant learning experience for everyone involved. The simple request for a salute had opened a window into the intricate world of royal protocols, revealing how assumptions about hierarchy and ceremony could create unexpected complications in even the most carefully managed royal household. The consequences of this single morning would ripple through the coming days, affecting everything from security procedures to diplomatic protocols. What had seemed like a minor misunderstanding would prove to have far-reaching implications for how the royal household managed the delicate balance between tradition, hierarchy, and the practical requirements of modern royal life. By evening, word of the morning's incident had begun to circulate through the carefully controlled channels of royal household communication. In the world of palace staff, where discretion was paramount and information was shared only on a need-to-know basis, the story of Queen Camilla's request and Sergeant Major Whitfield's response had taken on the weight of significant palace news. Mrs. Margaret Thornbury spent her evening in careful consultation with the master of the household, Sir William Cambridge, a man whose 30 years of royal service had given him extensive experience in navigating protocol disputes and maintaining household harmony. Their discussion took place in the privacy of the administrative offices, away from the areas where other staff members might overhear sensitive conversations about royal family members. "The situation requires delicate handling," Sir William observed, his measured tone reflecting the gravity with which he approached all matters affecting royal dignity. Queen Camilla's request was understandable from her perspective, but Sergeant Major Whitfield's adherence to established protocol was equally appropriate. "We must find a way to address this that preserves everyone's dignity while clarifying future procedures." The complexity of the situation lay not just in the immediate embarrassment experienced by Queen Camilla, but in the broader implications for how royal protocol would be interpreted and applied in similar situations. The incident had revealed a gap in the understanding between royal expectations and military regulations that could potentially create ongoing tension if not properly addressed. Mrs. Thornbury had already begun drafting a confidential memorandum that would be circulated to key household staff, outlining the specific protocols governing salutes and ceremonial recognition. Her years of experience had taught her that such incidents, while uncomfortable in the moment, often provided valuable opportunities to clarify procedures and prevent future misunderstandings. Meanwhile, Sergeant Major Whitfield was conducting his own review of the morning's events with his immediate superior, Colonel Patricia Hartwell, the officer responsible for coordinating royal protection services. Their conversation took place in the security offices, where frank discussion of protocol challenges was not only permitted but encouraged as part of maintaining effective protection standards. "Your adherence to regulation was correct," Colonel Hartwell confirmed, "but we need to consider whether our current guidelines provide sufficient clarity for situations involving senior royals who may have different expectations about ceremonial recognition." Her analysis reflected the military's commitment to both following established procedures and adapting to evolving circumstances within the royal household. The conversation between the two military professionals was conducted with the kind of detailed analysis that characterized all aspects of royal security planning. They reviewed existing protocols, examined precedents from similar situations, and considered whether modifications to current procedures might be necessary to prevent future conflicts between royal expectations and military regulations. Colonel Hartwell's experience included service during the transition periods following royal marriages and other changes in household composition. She understood that protocol conflicts often emerged when new members of the royal family brought different expectations about ceremonial procedures. The challenge was always to maintain established standards while accommodating the legitimate needs and expectations of those they served. The discussion extended beyond the immediate incident to consider broader questions about how protocol guidance was communicated throughout the royal household. Both officers recognized that the morning's events had highlighted a communication gap that could potentially affect other areas of royal service if not properly addressed. In another part of Clarence House, Queen Camilla was having her own private consultation with Lady Sarah Worthington, her lady-in-waiting, whose decades of experience with royal protocol provided valuable perspective on navigating the complex social dynamics of royal life. Their conversation took place in the Queen's private sitting room, a comfortable space where frank discussions could occur away from the formal atmosphere of official chambers. "These situations are more common than one might expect," Lady Sarah reassured her, drawing upon her extensive experience with royal households. "Protocol conflicts often arise when expectations don't align perfectly with established procedures. The key is to address them gracefully and use them as opportunities to strengthen understanding throughout the household." Lady Sarah's guidance was particularly valuable because she had witnessed similar incidents throughout her career, including situations involving other royal family members who had faced comparable challenges in understanding the intricate web of protocols that governed royal life. Her perspective helped Queen Camilla understand that the morning's embarrassment was not a reflection of personal failure but, rather, a natural consequence of the complex system in which they all operated. The conversation touched on the broader challenges of adapting to royal life, particularly for those who had married into the family and were still learning the countless unwritten rules and expectations that govern daily interactions. Lady Sarah's experience provided context that helped Queen Camilla understand that protocol confusion was a normal part of the adjustment process, even for those who had been part of the royal family for several years. As night fell, the administrative machinery of the royal household began the careful process of documenting and analyzing the day's events. Protocol officers, security coordinators, and senior household staff initiated the kind of comprehensive review that followed any incident involving potential procedural conflicts or misunderstandings. The master of the household's office began preparing a series of briefing documents that would be circulated to relevant staff members, outlining the specific circumstances that had led to the morning's incident and providing clear guidance for handling similar situations in the future. The goal was to transform the uncomfortable moment into a learning opportunity that would strengthen household operations. Sir William Cambridge's long experience had taught him that the most effective way to address protocol conflicts was through clear communication and comprehensive education rather than blame or punishment. His approach emphasized understanding the legitimate concerns of all parties involved and developing procedures that would prevent similar misunderstandings while maintaining the dignity and effectiveness of royal operations. The security team conducted their own analysis of the incident, reviewing communication protocols and considering whether additional training or guideline clarification might be beneficial for all protection personnel. Their focus remained on maintaining the highest standards of security while ensuring that their procedures aligned appropriately with royal household expectations. Colonel Hartwell initiated discussions with her counterparts in other royal households to determine whether similar protocol conflicts had occurred elsewhere and what solutions had been implemented. The Royal Protection Service maintained extensive networks for sharing best practices and lessons learned, particularly when dealing with complex ceremonial or protocol issues. The evening's consultations extended to include legal advisors who specialized in constitutional and ceremonial law. Their expertise was particularly valuable in determining the precise legal and traditional foundations for various protocol requirements, helping to distinguish between absolute requirements and areas where flexibility might be appropriate. Throughout these discussions, all parties remained committed to maintaining the confidentiality that was essential to royal household operations. The incident would be analyzed thoroughly and solutions developed, but the process would occur within the carefully controlled information channels that protected royal privacy while ensuring effective institutional learning. Queen Camilla's personal reflection on the day's events included consideration of how she might approach similar situations in the future. The embarrassment of the morning had been genuine and uncomfortable, but she recognized that understanding and learning from the experience would ultimately strengthen her effectiveness in her royal role. The evening also provided time for Sergeant Major Whitfield to reflect on his decision and its consequences. While confident that his adherence to protocol had been correct, he was also aware that his relationship with Queen Camilla would require careful attention to rebuild the comfortable working dynamic that had been disrupted by the morning's events. As Clarence House settled into its evening routines, the day's events continued to resonate through the careful networks of communication and consultation that maintained the complex operation of royal life. The incident had been challenging and uncomfortable, but it had also provided valuable insights into areas where procedures could be clarified and improved. The Commonwealth officials, now returned to their respective accommodations, were conducting their own private discussions about the morning's events. Their diplomatic training required them to analyze such incidents for their potential impact on future royal visits and ceremonial planning, while maintaining the discretion necessary to preserve positive international relationships. The day that had begun with routine expectations had evolved into a comprehensive examination of royal protocols and procedures. The simple request for a salute had opened discussions that would influence household operations for months to come, demonstrating how even minor incidents could have significant implications in the carefully orchestrated world of royal life. The following morning brought a flurry of carefully orchestrated meetings designed to address the protocol confusion that had emerged from the previous day's incident. Sir William Cambridge had spent the early hours reviewing precedents and consulting with constitutional experts to ensure that any solutions developed would align with both tradition and practical necessity. At 8 o'clock sharp, a discreet gathering took place in the cabinet room of Clarence House, bringing together the key figures responsible for managing royal protocol and security. The meeting included Sir William Cambridge, Colonel Patricia Hartwell, Mrs. Margaret Thornberry, and Professor David Ashworth, the royal household's constitutional advisor. Their discussion would prove crucial in determining how similar situations would be handled in the future. Professor Ashworth brought to the meeting a comprehensive analysis of historical precedents regarding salutes and ceremonial recognition within royal households. His research had uncovered several instances throughout history where similar protocol questions had arisen, providing valuable context for understanding the current situation. The question of when and how military personnel salute royal family members has evolved considerably over the centuries, he explained, his academic precision bringing clarity to what had seemed like a straightforward issue. The constitutional framework governing such interactions proved to be more complex than many had realized. Professor Ashworth's analysis revealed that while certain royal family members were entitled to specific forms of military recognition, the precise circumstances under which such recognition was required had never been comprehensively codified for all possible situations. Colonel Hartwell presented the military perspective on the incident, emphasizing that Sergeant Major Whitfield's response had been entirely consistent with current regulations governing royal protection services. Our personnel are trained to follow specific protocols that have been developed over decades of experience, she explained. These protocols exist not only to maintain proper military discipline but also to ensure consistency in how royal family members are treated across different circumstances and locations. The security perspective revealed additional complexities that had not been immediately apparent during the previous day's incident. Military protocols for royal protection were designed to maintain clear lines of authority and responsibility while ensuring that security considerations remained paramount in all interactions. Ceremonial elements, while important, could not be allowed to compromise the primary mission of protecting royal family members. Mrs. Thornberry contributed her extensive knowledge of royal household operations and the practical challenges of managing daily interactions between royal family members and their staff. Her perspective emphasized the importance of maintaining positive working relationships while ensuring that everyone understood their roles and responsibilities clearly. The incident highlighted a gap in our communication about expectations, Mrs. Thornberry observed. Queen Camilla's request was entirely understandable from her perspective, and Sergeant Major Whitfield's response was equally appropriate from his position. Our task is to ensure that such misunderstandings don't occur in the future. The discussion revealed that the royal household had grown in complexity over recent years as new family members had joined and roles had evolved. Traditional protocols that had once seemed straightforward were now being applied in situations that their creators had never anticipated. The challenge was to maintain the dignity and effectiveness of these protocols while adapting them to contemporary circumstances. Sir William Cambridge guided the discussion toward practical solutions that would address the immediate concerns while strengthening overall household operations. His approach emphasized learning from the incident rather than assigning blame, recognizing that protocol conflicts were often symptoms of broader communication challenges rather than individual failures. The meeting also addressed the diplomatic implications of the incident, particularly given that Commonwealth officials had witnessed the protocol confusion. Professor Ashworth's analysis suggested that similar questions might arise during future state visits or ceremonial occasions, making it essential to develop clear guidelines that could be communicated to visiting dignitaries and their security personnel. As the morning progressed, parallel meetings were taking place in other parts of the royal establishment. At Buckingham Palace, senior officials were briefed on the Clarence House incident as part of their regular coordination activities. The royal household operated as an integrated system, and protocol conflicts in one location could have implications for operations throughout the monarchy. The Queen's private secretary at Buckingham Palace, Sir Clive Alderton, received a detailed briefing on the incident and its implications for overall royal protocol management. His perspective was particularly valuable because he had extensive experience in managing similar situations involving multiple royal households and their sometimes competing protocol requirements. Sir Clive's analysis focused on the broader pattern of protocol evolution within the modern monarchy. Recent years had seen numerous challenges as the royal family adapted to changing social expectations while maintaining essential traditions. The Clarence House incident was part of a larger process of institutional adaptation that required careful management to preserve both effectiveness and dignity. Meanwhile, at Windsor Castle, additional consultations were taking place with the Lord Chamberlain's office, the department responsible for coordinating ceremonial aspects of royal life. Their perspective was crucial because they managed the formal protocols that govern state occasions and official ceremonies where similar questions might arise. The Lord Chamberlain's analysis revealed that the question of salutes and ceremonial recognition had become increasingly complex as the royal family had evolved. Traditional protocols had been designed for a different era, and their application to contemporary situations sometimes produced unexpected conflicts between different sets of rules and expectations. Back at Clarence House, Sergeant Major Whitfield was participating in his own detailed review of the incident with his security team colleagues. Their discussion focused on ensuring that the team's response to future protocol questions would be consistent and appropriate, regardless of which royal family member was involved or what specific circumstances arose. The security team's analysis emphasized the importance of maintaining clear communication channels between protection personnel and household administrators. The previous day's incident had revealed that assumptions about protocol understanding were not always accurate, and that explicit communication about expectations was essential for preventing future conflicts. Whitfield's colleagues expressed strong support for his handling of the situation, recognizing that his adherence to established procedures had been entirely appropriate even though it had created temporary discomfort. Their solidarity was important for maintaining morale and ensuring that security personnel could continue to perform their duties with confidence in their training and regulations. The afternoon brought a carefully arranged private meeting between Queen Camilla and Colonel Hartwell, designed to address any remaining concerns about the previous day's incident and to ensure that both parties understood the protocols that would govern future interactions. The meeting took place in Queen Camilla's private study, providing a comfortable setting for frank discussion. Colonel Hartwell's approach emphasized respect for Queen Camilla's position while explaining the military considerations that govern security protocols. Her explanation helped Queen Camilla understand that the previous day's events had not reflected any lack of respect for her role, but rather the application of carefully developed procedures designed to maintain consistency and effectiveness. Queen Camilla's response demonstrated the grace and understanding that had characterized her approach to learning royal protocols throughout her years of service. She expressed appreciation for the explanation and acknowledged that her understanding of military procedures had been incomplete. The conversation concluded with both parties confident that future interactions would proceed smoothly based on their improved mutual understanding. The day's consultations culminated in a comprehensive briefing document that would be circulated to all relevant personnel throughout the royal household network. The document outlined specific procedures for handling ceremonial requests while maintaining security protocols, providing clear guidance for situations that might arise in the future. The briefing document represented a significant achievement in transforming an uncomfortable incident into a constructive learning opportunity. Rather than simply addressing the immediate conflict, the royal household had used the situation to strengthen its overall protocol management and communication systems. As evening approached, all parties involved could feel confident that the previous day's protocol confusion had been thoroughly analyzed and effectively addressed. The incident had provided valuable insights into areas where procedures could be clarified and improved, ultimately strengthening the royal household's ability to manage the complex requirements of modern monarchy. The transformation of an embarrassing moment into a comprehensive institutional improvement demonstrated the professionalism and adaptability that characterized the royal household's approach to challenges. The careful analysis and collaborative problem-solving that had followed the incident showed how the monarchy continued to evolve while maintaining its essential traditions and values. 3 weeks after the garden incident, the comprehensive protocol review initiated by the royal household had begun to bear fruit in ways that transformed not only the immediate situation but the broader operation of royal ceremonial procedures. The embarrassing moment that had caught Queen Camilla off guard had catalyzed changes that would benefit the entire royal establishment for years to come. The new protocols, officially designated as the Clarence House Guidelines for Military Ceremonial Recognition, provided unprecedented clarity about when and how salutes would be rendered to different members of the royal family under various circumstances. The document, spanning 15 pages of carefully crafted language, addressed scenarios ranging from formal state occasions to casual garden encounters, ensuring that future incidents like the one involving Queen Camilla would be prevented through clear, unambiguous guidance. Professor David Ashworth's constitutional research had revealed fascinating historical precedents that informed the new guidelines. His investigation uncovered correspondence from the reign of King George V that addressed similar protocol questions, providing historical justification for the balanced approach that the new guidelines embodied. The connection to historical precedent was crucial for maintaining the legitimacy and continuity that characterized all royal protocol modifications. The implementation of the new guidelines required extensive training sessions for all royal household personnel, from senior administrators to junior security staff. Colonel Patricia Hartwell personally conducted briefings for protection personnel across all royal residences, ensuring that everyone understood both the letter and spirit of the new procedures. Her approach emphasized that the guidelines were designed to enhance rather than restrict their ability to show appropriate respect while maintaining security effectiveness. Sergeant Major Whitfield found himself at the center of these training sessions, not as someone who had created a problem, but as a professional whose careful adherence to existing protocols had helped identify areas where improvement was needed. His experience during the original incident provided valuable insights that informed the development of training scenarios designed to prepare other personnel for similar situations. The relationship between Whitfield and Queen Camilla had not only recovered from the initial awkwardness but had actually strengthened as a result of the comprehensive review process. Their subsequent interactions demonstrated a new level of mutual understanding and respect that was built on clear knowledge of expectations and procedures rather than assumptions and uncertainty. Queen Camilla's role in the development of the new guidelines extended beyond simply being the subject of the original incident. Her insights into the expectations and perspectives of royal family members proved valuable in crafting procedures that maintained dignity while providing practical clarity. Her willingness to participate constructively in the review process demonstrated the kind of institutional commitment that strengthened the monarchy's ability to adapt and improve. The diplomatic implications of the original incident had also been carefully addressed through discreet communications with the Commonwealth officials who had witnessed the protocol confusion. Sir Geoffrey Morrison and Dame Patricia Williams both received confidential briefings about the new guidelines, ensuring that their governments understood how similar situations would be handled during future royal visits. The Commonwealth representatives' response to the new protocols was overwhelmingly positive, with both officials expressing appreciation for the royal household's professional approach to protocol development. Their feedback suggested that other Commonwealth nations might benefit from similar clarity in their own ceremonial procedures, potentially leading to broader international coordination of royal protocol standards. Mrs. Margaret Thornberry had emerged from the incident as a key architect of improved communication systems throughout the royal household. Her new position as Protocol Coordination Director represented a significant expansion of her responsibilities, reflecting the household's recognition that effective protocol management required dedicated senior-level attention. The communication improvements extended beyond protocol clarification to encompass broader information sharing between different departments of the royal household. Regular briefings now ensured that security personnel, administrative staff, and senior officials all maintained current understanding of ceremonial expectations and procedural requirements. Sir William Cambridge's leadership throughout the review process had demonstrated the kind of institutional wisdom that enabled the royal household to transform challenges into opportunities for improvement. His approach emphasized learning and adaptation rather than punishment or blame, creating an environment where staff members felt comfortable raising questions and concerns before they developed into more significant problems. The master of the household's new initiative included regular protocol review sessions that brought together representatives from different departments to discuss emerging issues and potential improvements. These sessions were designed to prevent future incidents by maintaining ongoing dialogue about the evolving needs and expectations of royal household operations. The incident had also prompted a broader examination of how new royal family members were educated about protocol requirements and expectations. Lady Sarah Worthington developed a comprehensive orientation program that provided systematic introduction to the complex web of procedures that govern royal life, ensuring that future protocol confusion would be minimized through better initial education. The orientation program included modules on military protocol, diplomatic ceremony, domestic staff interactions, and public appearance procedures. Each module was designed to provide both theoretical understanding and practical experience, helping new royal family members develop intuitive grasp of appropriate behavior in various situations. Colonel Hartwell's analysis of the incident's security implications had led to improved coordination between Royal Protection Services and ceremonial officials. The new procedures ensured that security considerations were properly integrated with ceremonial requirements rather than being treated as separate, potentially conflicting concerns. The security improvements included enhanced communication protocols that provided protection personnel with advance notice of ceremonial expectations during specific events or interactions. This advance planning helped prevent situations where security protocols might inadvertently conflict with ceremonial requirements. 6 months after the original incident, Queen Camilla hosted a reception for Commonwealth diplomatic representatives that included a carefully choreographed demonstration of the new ceremonial protocols. The event served multiple purposes. It showed international partners how the improved procedures operated in practice, it demonstrated the royal household's commitment to continuous improvement, and it provided Queen Camilla with an opportunity to display her mastery of the protocols that had initially caused confusion. The reception was considered a complete success by all participants, with the Commonwealth officials expressing particular appreciation for the clarity and dignity of the ceremonial procedures they witnessed. The event proved that the uncomfortable incident in the Clarence House Gardens had ultimately contributed to stronger, more effective royal protocol management. Sergeant Major Whitfield's role in the reception demonstrated how his original adherence to military protocol had contributed to institutional improvement rather than creating lasting conflict. His professional conduct throughout the review process had earned him recognition as a model of how military personnel could contribute constructively to royal household operations while maintaining their essential security focus. The long-term impact of the incident extended far beyond the immediate participants to influence royal protocol development throughout the monarchy. The Clarence House Guidelines became a model for similar reviews at other royal residences, leading to system-wide improvements in ceremonial procedure clarity and implementation. The incident's transformation from embarrassing misunderstanding to institutional improvement opportunity demonstrated the resilience and adaptability of the modern monarchy. Rather than allowing protocol confusion to create lasting tension or division, the royal household had used the challenge as a catalyst for strengthening its operations and enhancing its effectiveness. Queen Camilla's reflection on the entire experience, shared during a private interview conducted for internal household records, emphasized her appreciation for the professionalism and respect that had characterized everyone's response to the original incident. Her perspective highlighted how initial embarrassment could evolve into institutional learning when approached with the right combination of humility, professionalism, and commitment to improvement. The garden at Clarence House, where the original incident had occurred, became an unlikely symbol of institutional resilience and adaptation. The rose bush that Queen Camilla had been admiring when the protocol confusion arose continued to bloom each season, serving as a gentle reminder that growth often emerges from unexpected challenges when they are met with wisdom, patience, and commitment to positive change. The lasting legacy of that autumn morning was not the momentary embarrassment or protocol confusion, but rather the comprehensive institutional improvements that emerged from careful analysis and collaborative problem-solving. The incident demonstrated that even the most established institutions could benefit from continuous learning and adaptation, ensuring their continued effectiveness in serving the evolving needs of modern society while maintaining their essential traditional values and dignity.